Epic outcomes describe the measurable changes an organization expects to achieve once a large initiative, known as an epic, is delivered. Unlike high-level vision statements, outcomes focus on what will be different in the business, customer experience, or operational performance. They help leaders and teams understand whether an epic is truly worth the investment by clearly stating what success looks like in practical, observable terms. In SAFe, outcomes are essential because they tie the epic to real value instead of just features or activity. An epic outcome is not a list of tasks or deliverables. It is a description of the impact. For example, instead of saying, "build a new mobile app," an outcome might say, "increase monthly active users by 20% through an easier mobile experience." This shift from output to outcome ensures everyone, from executives to developers, understands why the epic exists in the first place and what the business hopes to accomplish. It pushes teams to think beyond delivery and toward meaningful value. Good epic outcomes are measurable. This means they include clear indicators of success, often supported by metrics such as revenue growth, reduced costs, improved customer satisfaction, or faster cycle time. Making the outcome measurable creates alignment and avoids confusion because multiple teams may contribute to the epic. When the outcome is stated with numbers, everyone knows how progress will be judged and whether the organization is actually moving toward its goal. Epic outcomes also connect to strategic themes. In large enterprises, many initiatives compete for funding, time, and people. Outcomes help portfolio leaders compare epics side by side and determine which ones support long-term strategies. An epic tied to increasing customer retention, for example, may be prioritized above one that does not show a clear business impact. Outcomes help justify why an epic deserves capacity in the first place. These outcomes guide the hypothesis testing process during the lean business case. Since SAFe uses a build, measure, learn mindset, the outcomes become the assumptions that teams need to validate. While developing the epic, teams run experiments, collect feedback, and measure the results. If the early observations show that the predicted outcomes are unlikely to happen, leaders can pivot or stop the epic before large investments are wasted. This prevents sunk cost decisions and keeps the portfolio adaptive. Epic outcomes are also important for transparency. Large organizations have many stakeholders: product management, architecture, compliance, sales, and more. A clearly written outcome gives everyone a single reference point for what the epic aims to achieve. This reduces misalignment and prevents teams from pulling in different directions. When outcomes are vague, teams tend to build features out of habit instead of building value intentionally. Outcomes influence how teams slice work. Once an epic is approved, its outcomes help break the large initiative into features and enablers within agile release trains. By knowing the intended impact, teams can prioritize the most critical parts first. If an outcome focuses on faster onboarding, the first features should target removing the biggest onboarding barriers instead of unrelated enhancements. Outcomes act like a compass for decomposition and sequencing. Epic outcomes encourage innovation. When success is defined by impact and not by a pre-written solution, teams feel empowered to explore creative options. For example, an outcome might call for a 30% reduction in customer support tickets. Teams could solve this through product improvements, automation, or better self-service tools. Outcomes create room for experimentation instead of locking teams into a narrow set of requirements. These outcomes also help reveal whether an epic is too broad. If the outcome describes too many changes or metrics, it might indicate that the epic should be split. A well-scoped epic usually has one central outcome supported by a small set of additional measures. Keeping outcomes focused ensures the epic is deliverable within a reasonable time frame and doesn't overwhelm teams or stretch resources across competing goals. Once the epic is delivered, the outcome becomes the basis for evaluation. Organizations measure real-world performance and compare it against what they predicted. This determines if the epic truly created value and whether additional investments are needed. If the outcomes were achieved or exceeded, it justifies continuing or scaling the initiative. If not, leaders capture learning and adjust their portfolio decisions. Outcomes ensure that delivery does not end with deployment, but continues through real business impact. Most importantly, epic outcomes shift the conversation toward maximizing value and minimizing wasted work. Instead of asking, "What features do we build?" teams ask, "What change are we trying to create?" This mindset aligns with SAFE's principle of maximizing the amount of work not done. Clear epic outcomes allow enterprises to focus on the highest impact initiatives while avoiding unnecessary features, reducing rework, and improving flow across the entire portfolio.